Over West Side, everybody know everybody, right? I got nothing but love in my heart for West Side niggas, nothing but love.
Live from Detroit, live from Detroit, live from
Pink suits with hats to match, big crocodiles and Cadillacs. You looking for the fattest sacks? This is where it's at. Windows tinted, seats fully reclined. Keep the hands on the burner, cause niggas know that it's money on the mind.
Yo, what up, though? It's your man Jay Johnson, aka the tinfoil hat titan, aka the conspiracy realist, aka the technology snob, Steve Jobs Jr. Don't text me with your green bubbles, aka I only debate my equals, everybody else I teach. Also known as Juice, because all the girls say J.U. Ice, Young Caesar, because you know you can't run without me. Mister, if you don't like me, fight me. I got kicked out of Noah's Ark because they couldn't find another animal just like me, aka the West Side T'Challa, the new leader of Wakanda. Don't debate me, debate your mama. I am the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. What up?
What up, though? It's your man Dame Gone Wild, the West Side landlord, the pride of PA, High Chief Dame Don't Fuck Around, the liquor store legend, the corner store conquistador, your mama's favorite dame, and the David Ruffin of the Shop Talk Podcast, because you know who the fuck they came to see. Not you, Otis. It's no better than these 4 letters. Thank God for Dame. And if you speaking on Dame, you better say it nice. And if you don't put the boss in front, then bitch, you not saying it right. It's the honorable Judge Boss Dame and this bitch all rise. I am a motherfucking black belt. And it's Friday night, so it's time for the Kumite. Let's fight. Let's fight.
Welcome back. Shop Talk Podcast, episode 458.
On you hoes. Wow, man, 458. Every week we say, man, that's a lot of episodes, but it's a lot of fucking episodes. It's a lot of fucking episodes.
It is, man. I mean, it's probably, you could probably count on 2 hands how many people didn't reach that number. You feel me?
Not a lot. I look at it as a milestone, man. We could have gave up on this shit a long time ago. You know, I could have been doing something else on my Fridays. We both fairly single men. You know, Friday night is a, you know, look, single is relative. It's
It's relative for sure.
So, I mean, on Friday nights, you know, this is prime time, you know, prime time hours, but
Yeah, for sure.
I choose to spend it with Jay Johnson for the most part. Now there is still late night availability, but
schedule's still open after about 10:30 and shit, right?
Yeah. But for the most part, I spend it with Jay Johnson. So,
and I was thinking, dog, I might have between this 458, I think we got 430 official episodes on This Week in Culture, and then I don't know, probably another 200 or so episodes on the Patreon. I may have podcasts more than anybody from the state of Michigan ever. Oh, then you add in the other pods I did that I was a part of, but I wasn't officially a part of. I did another 100 episodes.
Just being in the studio and shit.
Yeah, like 97% of other. I might have a Michigan record. Gotta be.
Maybe.
Gotta be.
Maybe.
Anywho, man, how was your week, my brother?
You know, man, I'll be honest, this week was a little bit somber for a nigga. Only because yesterday, you know, this tends to happen when on this day in particular, but yesterday was the 12th anniversary of the passing of my mother. And you know, the crazy thing about, I'm sorry, I keep going off screen. I'm dealing with dad shit. But like every year I'm just like moving. I try not to look at the calendar and like necessarily remember the date because it just doesn't always, you know, grief can be crazy like that. You think you got shit handled and then boom, something kind of knocks you out the way. But like yesterday, everything ran smoothly. You know what I'm saying? Like pickups went cool. Everything at work was like really slow. I was able to get a lot of shit done, you know, and just abnormally everything just like was going good. And then I look at the calendar, I was like, that's why. You know what I'm saying? Because like that spirit of calmness
Mm.
that she has blessed me with at times was riding with me all day. And I tell anybody that's lost, shout out my homeboy Theo lost his pops this week, and now he is, without both of his parents. And I tell anybody when you lose one parent, let alone both of them, it's a different safety net that is pulled from up under you. I've been living on my own, over 20 years now. I ain't never went back home, ain't, been fairly independent, really all of that time through my losses, my health tragedies, all of that. I've always remained independent. I haven't had necessarily the financial safety net of family or like financial safety net of family. But like when you go through it and it's really gone and you really got to like thug it out by yourself, that shit, it just feels different because that it's all on you. And sometimes it's hard for me to look up, and I always take to heart the conversation that me and you had during the summer. You was like, nigga, you the patriarch of your family, and like I am. And when I think about that, and I moved to a different part of my house today to record the show because I was like, man, it's not always as comfortable as I like it to be upstairs on that couch. It's a lot of distractions because that window that I sit in front of is right off of the street. Uh, and sometimes, there's just shit going on outside, dogs barking, neighbors tripping. So I moved to a part of the house that I normally don't use. And I'm glad I came down here. It's in my basement because now I see that there's some water damage to a wall that I got to deal with. But because I never come in this area of the basement, I'm like you, like I don't be liking to sit in the basement
Yeah,
all
for
that
sure.
often. But I'm glad I came down here because I was like, wow, when the fuck did that happen? Uh, but I saw there's some water damage, but there's also this old shoebox. I got like a little dry bar in the basement, and there's this old shoebox I had sitting up here, and it's full of pictures. And who's one of the first pictures I see? My parents, like in their younger days. My pops, like, he was bald like me, but like this is an old ass picture that I found of him and my sister because like my dad got a head full of hair, and I ain't seen him with hair shit damn near 20, the last 25 years of his life. He ain't have hair. As my mom here, when her hair was still long, she cut it like in a short like fro in her later years, and like this is her with like still long ass shoulder length hair. And it was like it was good. I needed to see that, for my day. But other than that, man, the week is weekend. God is great. uh Beyond the circumstances and our our current political climate, God is good. I'm still above the dirt. My Lions didn't win, but my Pistons looking good. I'm still a Lions fan. I don't give a fuck what happened. Jared Goff, one more season.
All right now.
That look, my nigga had a bad game. I'm not gonna throw him away because I've sat through worse as a Lions fan. I was there for the Charlie Batch years, the John Kitnas, the Jeff Garcias, the Scott Mitchells. Motherfucking, I've been a Lions fan a long ass time. I'm not turning my back on Jared. Not right now. I'm not gonna do it to him. We can run it back next year. We can run it back next year. And next year could
Not
be the
promised.
year.
Not promised.
Nothing is promised. But
That's why.
but with sports, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's why I'm not like this year was an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? Like last
It
year,
was.
everybody came back like we gonna do it. Like you don't usually get like three of them things back to back to back. So, we got to make sure we capitalize. But
I
that's
ain't ready to give up on my team. I ain't ready.
not giving up. Sometimes some people have it, some people don't.
And look, my Pistons looking good right now, so I'm gonna ride with them. Shout out to Cheyenne for going viral again with her little comment about she made about the Pistons
I missed it.
online. So they was warming up before a game, and she was like, it looked like they all had on Spider-Man uniforms. like the meme where the Spider-Man's pointing at each other. One of these sports pages then picked it up. When I checked it, like maybe 10 minutes before we logged on, she already had like 14,000 retweets. So it's going up.
What everybody had like hoodies on or some shit, hooping or
They had on like their warm-ups. They're like blue and red, but they didn't have like at the
oh, they was
angle
blue
you
and
can,
red. Got you.
yeah, and at the angle you don't really see the logo heavily. So
Yeah.
it do look like they got on like these blue and red jumpsuits. And I mean, if you just flipping quick, like them niggas do look a little Spider-Man-ish.
Cheyenne
So
good for a viral moment 3-4 times a year.
yeah, shout out to the East Side homie Cheyenne. We love you.
Man, this week, man, it's been really fucking cold. Today's 16-degree weather is great for me because my house was really, really cold. I had to go look at the
thermostat.
thermostat. I'm about to say the thermometer.
we all live in the same life because what was it? Tuesday? It was Wednesday night.
But it was like -4 one day and then -6 the next.
No, it got down. The lowest it got down to at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, it hit -16 was the
Yikes.
lowest that it got down to. And I know that because my furnace also was screaming for dear life. And I thought something was wrong. And I go look at the thermostat, it's like 67 in the house.
Man, my
Now,
shit says 64. I was like, yo, in the summertime, 64 don't feel like this. But my shit is set to 74. So like a whole 10-degree difference. Like,
so look, I wake up that morning thinking something is wrong. So I call Verge. Verge give me the number for his HVAC guy, but he couldn't find it for a minute. So I was looking for another guy. So I called the company. I was like, hey, I think something wrong with my furnace. I need to get somebody out here for that temp drop too low. He was like, look, I can come out there. It'd be $100. But let me tell you something first before I come out there.
it's cold as fuck outside, nigga.
He was like, I'm getting a lot of calls like this. And he said a lot of times, he's like, it's the same thing. Like if it's a heat wave, it's 116 all week and you got the thermostat set in the crib for 75. Yeah, that AC gonna be blowing and it's not gonna get up to 75 because of the temperature outside. He was like, look, it's in the negatives. So that's probably why it's not getting up. Or maybe it's not working. But he was like, it's blowing hot air, but it's just not hitting the desired temp. So he was like, I can come out, but it's gonna be $100.
Shout out to him.
Or you can just wait it out and see what happens.
Or you could put on that triple fat goose and take your ass to bed. You feel me? And then you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, I'm gonna take your advice and just see what happens. Because he didn't have to do that for me. He could have just came out, told me, yeah, it's your thermometer, diameter, spiculometer, and it's gonna cost you $800. But he was an honest brother, so I appreciate him for giving me his honesty. It's sure as shit. The next day, temperature rose back up to a balmy 24 degrees.
And it make all the difference in the world. The inside of my garage was frozen. I went out there to get something to get out the car. Looked at the garage door. Dog, that shit was on the inside. It was frosty. I'm like, shit. Let me put my lunch in my car so I don't forget it because it's gonna be fine.
It'll be safe. Yeah, it'll be safe.
Listen though, MLK Day was on Monday. And I had the day off like a sane person.
I did. I had to work.
I just decided to paint my kitchen and shit randomly in the middle of the day.
What color?
I did the back wall of my kitchen, which is normally white, I painted it gray. I mean, the rest of the kitchen already gray and white. So, but it was a matte gray, and the dog sometimes like leans against it, and I'm tired of like having to clean that spot. They didn't put a semi-gloss in the kitchen like you should have, like you should be. So I painted that shit. And I'm thinking that once this podcast is over, I'm going in painting that other bathroom tonight. Cause why the fuck not? But I did that shit in record time. I'm talking about
the dead body bathroom.
The dead body bathroom?
Yeah, the one that you dragged the bodies. That bathroom.
Well, no, most recently because when it was raining last week, the dog came in and I didn't have another. I got a towel that I wiped the dog feet off with. Because I'm tired of me mopping the floor and him fucking it up. But I didn't have a towel back there, so I made him stay in that little area until his feet dried off. So then he like had fucking paw prints and mud and shit everywhere. But so I'll clean that shit out. I'm gonna paint the rest of that shit tonight. I did that shit in record time. I've never painted this quick in my life. I'm talking about from sanding the plaster, the sanding the walls, the paint, the whole 9 yards. And I did that shit before we did a podcast on Monday too.
Okay.
So
you're a homeowner, my nigga.
I'm gonna see if I can do that shit tonight. That fucking freezing temperature wasn't no fucking joke though. I put plastic on the windows. Okay, got the damn hair dryer and doing all that shit.
And man, I definitely woke up and I tweeted like, man, I just thank God for a warm house. I saw, a few years ago, and shout out to Jackie Ford. Me and you had the opportunity to work at a warming center one Saturday and see like how people who are unhoused are really dealing with this cold weather.
Yeah,
and I never forget the sight of that brother coming in shorts, and he had socks up to his knees, and he had on thong sandals, and dead of winter, snow outside, two hoodies on, and he was in that warming center for a hot meal and just to stay warm for a few hours. Shout out to Pharaoh. I know that he opened up he extended the hours at the neighborhood grocery so they could use that as a warming center for people that are unhoused and out there, because that cold was brutal. You would die. I was seeing something on the news as like 20 minutes out there uncovered would definitely give you frostbite. And anybody who's seen frostbite, if you know somebody that's experienced it, prolonged exposure to frostbite, you will lose those limbs. So I pray, for the people that, are forced to, or in an unfortunate position that were forced to be outside or be without heat in that cold weather. I know a lot of people, I know a couple friends that lost heat during that time frame, that had to stay with family or try and get hotel rooms at exorbitant prices in order to shield themselves from that cold. So man, I just thank the God above for a warm home. It may not have been the temperature that I wanted it to be at, but I ain't have to be outside at any point in that. Beyond the furthest I went was to the sidewalk to take the dog out. And I knew it was cold because like he ain't want to play around. He did what he had to do, and he was trying to get back in that house.
This damn dog always want to go outside. I'm like, my nigga, if you don't bring your ass back in this fucking house, 6 o'clock in the morning, he gotta go out. He gotta eat. And I'll just say it's a painful experience in the morning going to that back door and letting him outside.
I feel you.
Any event, man. We got a guest this week. We're gonna go ahead and bring him to the stage, and we'll check out, see how his week was going.
That's what's up. Let's bring him out.
Brandon, man, welcome, man.
Hey, what's happening, family? All right?
Good.
Man.
How was your week, my brother?
Man, just like y'all, it's cold, man. So I went through that thing with the furnace a couple of years ago, man. And I ended up burning out the furnace, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just running that fan all damn day, just be running all day long. And then, so I'm probably the reason why DT got all them peak hours. So, like, if you ain't got that, I'm for real, like, my barber, tell you true story. So I take my son to go get their haircut a couple weeks ago, right? So my barber, she was like, yeah, her son, nephew, whatever, they was at the house over that extra break over the holiday break, right? They got the heat on 75. Every time the heat cut off, they going back, jiggling the thermostat, turn it back on so it runs some more.
Killing that furnace. Killing it.
Listen, man, they burn that boy all day long, right? So look, the bill, north of $500. So now, so imagine like this January when the bills come back, DT gonna be killing folks. They're gonna be cracking their heads because it's smooth. It's gonna be mean. So listen, man, that's the reason why you need a Black Caucus, man, because these utility companies, and they just hit you with a 28% increase, I think, something like that.
I just saw that.
We got
so my week. But we ain't gonna talk about that yet, man. But my honestly, man, my week of slow motion. Like that Sunday was Saturday was messed up. You know what I'm saying, with the Lions taking that L. 5 TOs, you really can't do nothing with that. You know, it is what it is. Shout out to Saquon. I had flashbacks in the '91 NFC Championship game. That's what I had. So yeah. So
I mean, when it's 3rd and 1, you down 10. It's the 4th quarter, 10 minutes left in the game. Don't have your star wide receiver throwing the ball downfield when it's 3rd and 1. Like just don't have your star wide receiver throwing the ball downfield. Somebody throw him the ball.
But see, this is the little part about it. Y'all know when it hit, ain't nobody saying nothing. Right? When it hit,
and that's how they played all season long. Like
that's why I ain't saying nothing about it right now. You know,
we risked it.
Like,
we said that last year against San Francisco when we lost because he was doing trick plays, and we was like, "Well, this is what got him here." No, I be saying that shit like, "Listen, you got to fucking relax. You can't play the regular game. You can't play a regular season game how you play a playoff game because you just can't. It's not the same. It's not.
I'm with you on that, fam. I'm with you on that. I hear you on that.
But that's Ben Johnson for you, you know.
All right. So look. Then you got MLK Day, and I did something different from my MLK Day, right? So like, I call myself a little bit civically engaged and involved or whatever. So the Detroit branch of NAACP, they had an event at WC3D, Northwest Activity Center, not the Northwest campus over there.
Yeah.
All right. It was pretty smooth, and I say it was smooth because like it was more than just like folks 65 and up in the room talking about what civil rights used to be. Young people in the room had good conversations about like after watching the 47th president's inaugural address, and then, you know, just kind of digesting that a little bit, seeing what people thought, you know what I'm saying, without the news and all that other stuff, just having that conversation. It was dope. And then, like I say, battling that cold, just making the dad moves, and it's Friday, and I'm talking to y'all, so you see how my weekend look in the slow motion.
Yeah. Man, I watched funny timing with that presidential address.
Ain't it, man?
But I mean, it does happen the same time every 4 years, you know. So
and the third Monday just happened to be,
yeah. So you know, it is what it is. You know, I watched it like I watched all the other ones, and it was pretty interesting, honestly. You know, this week has been pretty interesting. Seeing different changes that have been made, seeing people's reaction to those changes, and you know, we are in an information age, and I don't see a lot of people actually go looking for information or nuance or context or anything. It's just, this is what I'm running with. This is what it is. It's interesting. It's always interesting, man. Always fucking interesting.
You know, it's you got it. I think, and so like, and being in the space of like so about me, right? So for the audience, everybody, I'm Brandon Jessup. I'm well into my adulthood and everything. I'm a data scientist by trade, and I'm working in the nonprofit sector, making sure Black folks got the power to vote, right? And so like that, you don't just get a job doing that. Like I've been in the streets, organizing, knocking on doors. I've been sent you text messages. I've called you on the phone. You didn't see me and my family on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've been in all this space talking about like how we get started. And I got started with the affirmative action fight. So we all remember Gratz versus Bollinger, the big U of M cases that said you can't have certain like not set asides. That's the whole thing that was racist in the first place about scarcity, right? And like one of the things that hit me on Monday was how the 47th president used the white supremacy tactic of scarcity, right, as to why we have to do X, Y, and Z, like scarcity of resources. And so in a country that generates $22 trillion in GDP every year, you wouldn't really think that we got scarcity of resources, right? Like we literally generate $22 trillion of money every year. And y'all remember like back in about 10, 15 years ago, you would hear like Farrakhan say something like, Black people spend $2 trillion and this, or Dr. Umar say something like that. It's
Yeah,
more
for
than
sure.
that. It's like 6, 7, 8 trillion now. And so I'm in the early 2000s talking about affirmative action at U of M and contracting. And we having these protests. I'm going to Eastern. I'm up there at the NAACP at Eastern, all that kind of stuff. My parents, my mom come from New Orleans, so she organized with the Black Panthers in New Orleans. So she was in the young teens coming up here to Michigan trying to get a job like everybody else on that travel up north. And that's how I got to be up here in Detroit. So, fast forward like past 9/11, and I just went to a community meeting over on campus. And we was like, what's going on? And I'm in there talking, I'm woofing all day long about how imperialism worked. And I'm 19, 20, just woofing, just going like the devil this and white devil that. You would have thought I was a 5%er. Like I'm just in the room, just going. But honestly, that energy in our community, like we know what it is. That's authentic. You can't really fake that kind of stuff. So fast forward to 2006, y'all might remember the name Wardell Connerly. And I'm gonna start, and then in this narrative, I'm gonna name a lot of like black faces and white spaces that did us wrong.
Okay.
And that's one of them. And so they introduced a ballot initiative that said like, hey, the Civil Rights Initiative. And it was like, it's unfair for y'all to make sure black people got spaces. That it's unfair that we make space for black people, right? So all this DEI stuff, man, this 15, 20 years in the making. And we've tried to continue to keep trying to use the right words to make white folks happy, and it don't work. And so let's go to what affirmative action really means. It don't mean set asides. It means you saying what you're gonna do and putting action behind it, something that affirms that action. So if your woman tell you she love you, you ask her to marry you, she tell you no.
Need some affirmative action.
Affirmative, right? That's an action, right? And so, very simply put, that's kind of like the whole process. So now we in this space, fast forward to today, right? And we hear these things about, first of all, diversity, equity, and inclusion does not mean white exclusion and inclusion, right? White only exclusion, right? So you only want white folks in the spaces. That's what's happening right now. And they saying it in your face. They just dismantled the equal opportunity employment policies in the federal government contracting. So the world's biggest corporation just said, we don't care about diversity and we ain't breaking the bread with the people in their own country. We ain't worried about it. And so when we think about the stuff that we voted for last November, at the MLK session on Monday, I talked about the pain that a lot of people felt. It wasn't about a candidate. It really wasn't. The fact is, our community, and this is why I'm running for the chair of the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus, is that black folks don't have a political home in the United States. They don't. We affiliate with the Democratic Party overwhelmingly. But do we think that's a place we can call home?
Absolutely not.
Right, not. And there's conversations, and even affiliated sometimes isn't the right word. It's really alignment, right? Like at this point in time, I think I might align more this way or more another. And even in November, 22 million people stay home. 22 million people didn't vote at the top of the ticket. They skipped it. So that's what I do on a daily basis, that kind of analysis.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people skip. Oh, I would assume some people skipped it because they don't like the two options.
Thank you.
And we keep running the narrative as if there's only two options, and there's usually 9 or 10 names up there for the president, even in the governor. I mean, it's more than just Democrat, Republican on the governor and all these lists. It's all these different parties. But every year we get together and we act like this is a two-party system, and nobody ever votes third party, fourth, fifth, sixth party, and like, oh well, if only we had another option. I'm like, do y'all look at the actual ballot? Because there's always an option there.
It's plenty of options.
It's always an option there. But they was like, well, hey, don't nobody want that. No one's going to get behind that. All you got to do is vote.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Jay. Like, so most of my electoral experience is not tied up with candidates. It's not. It's with issues on the ballot and ballot initiatives, right, in the state of Michigan. So, like I said, in 2006, we fighting to preserve affirmative action. So we're trying to get people to vote no to a question that was proposed in the negative in the first place. So they're saying, hey, yo, dog, don't you think it feel bad that they make sure black people got space in contracting? And you kind of like, no, I don't feel bad about this. But that's how they put these questions before us on these ballots. And so, we lost that. And so now, like, the state didn't have to worry about black folks in contracting. So when we talk about the people who are like doing this 696 East contract construction for the next 2 years, and when you drive on those spaces and you look who's in those spaces and you start to ask those questions like, well, how come my cousin ain't got that contract? Oh, my such and such and such did this program down to the city of Detroit and they still can't get consistent employment. It's because like all those things that would pin those pieces together are now pulled apart intentionally. And so like, yes, these are the tools of white supremacy that some of us can't identify, but we feel it every day. Absolutely. And so while, you know what I'm saying? So while my neighbor, I live in Macomb County, so my neighbor would tell me, oh, it ain't me. Yeah, you right, it's not you. It's this system failing you too. I make more money than you. I just might. But because of privilege and other things, you ain't got all the other bills that I got. You probably inherited this house. I'm renting, right? Or I'm buying this house for the first time. This is a second generation space for you. And so those are the things that that over time we worked through. So in 2012, y'all remember Governor Snyder and emergency management in the city of Detroit.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you Google and you look at the effort to repeal that law. Me and a few other folks in the state, we ran a petition drive to freeze it and end it. So when the Obama election came up in 2012, when you got to the lower of the ballot, proposal 1 was to say no to emergency management. It worked. That's why the bankruptcy process had to wait till 2013 to even start. They did some stuff at the middle of the night and lame duck. It did us like mad dirty. And I'll talk about that in another pod.
So let me ask you a question in regards to like the affirmative action with different contracts and different things.
Yeah.
So like, what do you say to folks who will be like, okay, look, we got 72 contractors.
Yeah.
There's 16 spots available and there's 3 black contractors and the rest of the 60 something contractors are other races. How do you say, well, 3D is going to these folks off top? Like, how do you, if there's a whole bunch of people all qualified going for these limited amount of spots, what do you say to somebody who's like, well, how is that fair to me where they get 3 off top and I may not get it. We both do the same kind of work. Like, why do they get it and I don't get it? Like, how do you respond to somebody who may feel that way?
I would say that for one, like, that's where chambers of commerce come into play. Okay. So for those 3 black contractors, you would ideally hope that they were all part of the same black chamber of commerce and that they were advocating together. And ideally, like, that chamber would have stepped in and they all put in the bid together instead of putting in 3 separate bids. That's the problem. So like right now, there's a bill in Michigan that didn't pass last year, and it's Senate Bill 317. It required that in-state contractors would get the last bid on like statewide contracts, right? So let's say like the state want to overdo the database for driver's licenses. That's like $100 million, right? Okay, so you got all kinds of contractors in state. Let's say 5 of them black out of 100. Okay, but then you open up the bidding nationally. So then now you got somebody like Elon Musk who's gonna bid on it, right? You can't match his bidding power at all. So what happens is he gonna drive the bid down to the lowest rate, or at least all the folks in the state, they're gonna try to outbid Elon at the end of the day, no matter what. So what most states have to protect their in-state businesses is like a freezing period on contracting. So contractors that aren't based in that state can't bid up to the last minute to drive the number down, because that's how all state contracting works. The lowest bid that meets the qualifications is gonna win. So if you lock out of state contractors out of that 48-hour or 24-hour period, you give your in-state contractors time to go back and rebid, or at least see all the other bids that's on the floor.
Yeah. Well,
so now you don't have millions moving out the state. So that's one thing. So like, I think for one, it's very hard for us to legislate space for folks to do business. I think it's very hard to do that. I think it's the state's responsibility to make sure that they that they work in advance to put folks in the spaces to do that. So that's why you have minority business disadvantage certifications. Those things cost $100. That's just them just going through your paperwork and saying, "Hey, Brandon, you Black. Okay, cool." And it sits on your contract. So then, like, when you apply, it's on the top of your stuff. Now, like most of these, and that's another thing that comes out to our state representatives that represent our communities. They don't have any ladders to walk us through those processes.
But so
So
the example you gave about the state of Michigan and outside contractors, I think if you live in the state of Michigan, I think everybody would be for that. Basically, you know what I'm saying? Keep the work here in the state of Michigan, and that's something that's based on geography versus
and
race.
It's just good business for the state. Why wouldn't you want it?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want people that live in, pay taxes, take their kids to school here? Like, why wouldn't you want them to get that money?
Most people will be like, "Yes, I'm for that," but that's all based off your physical location, not say your race or your sex or your gender or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think people get pushback was like, "Well, we both live in the state of Michigan, but because you got that tag that say you Black, it's 100 of us. You have a higher chance of getting this just because you Black."
That ain't the case. Because
I mean, I'm not. This is not a fact. I'm saying, what do you say to people?
People feel that way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where, at least like allowing the competition to at least just remain and stay a little bit. That lets our medium companies, the folks who are already doing 7 figures, right, to compete and get to 8 figures, right? You want to get to 9. Like, you can't have all these folks sitting from 8 doing 9-figure, revenues jumping to 12 out of nowhere. Like, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at people going from being 100 millionaires to billionaires 10, 20 times over now. That's exorbitant. And you can't even get a hospital, let's say, outside of the 7 counties in the state of Michigan. That's what these folks out west talking about. And so doing these ballot initiatives, I get to travel the state. And so, like, I know libertarians that'll be like, "Yo, dog, all that abortion stuff, I'm cool with it. I don't care what my wife do. I'm cool with what she's trying to do. It makes sense. We're a partnership, right?" But all this other stuff about what's going on in schools, and it goes back to the information that we're receiving. And so y'all said it earlier, like, we just get inundated with just all this bullshit. And so, like, when you got somebody who understands the political machine, that you got 3 rails, you got the justice rail, right? You got the legislative rail, you got the executive rail, but then the 4th rail is the media.
Yeah.
And when you can manipulate, like, how people are thinking about certain things, you keep them fixated on shit that's straight bullshit. Y'all know half the stuff that came down from Monday since was bullshit. And so, like, when they talk about birthright citizenship, and you will hear that conversation in the barbershop, and we'll hear somebody almost co-signing it, and they don't realize birthright citizenship is the underpinning of the 13th Amendment. If we don't have birthright citizenship, Black folks ain't got much to stand on when you talk about citizenship in the United States, the way these white folks talk about it. Those kind of white folks talk about it.
So with the citizenship, right? I think it's weird.
We was talking about the anchor baby situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So if 2 people who are not citizens of this country come here and have a baby, the baby is citizen.
If one citizen partners with someone who is a citizen already, or two people who are not naturalized citizens in this country have a child in this country, that child has birthright citizenship. So the vice president and the president both have children who are benefiting from this process, but yet they want to take it away from brown people. Explain it to me, like I'm 5.
I think it should be one, right? Like as long as that baby is a child of somebody that's the citizenship. Because like if I'm from Yugoslavia and we come over here on vacation, my wife already pregnant and she just had a baby over here.
Yeah, you on vacation. I hear you on that.
Yeah,
so, okay.
That's weird.
So 400 years ago, a whole bunch of folks jumped on some ships and they took permanent vacations to this country.
Yeah,
there may be some people who may give us that hypothetical and say this is the reason why you don't qualify for reparations. And so there are arguments that are happening in Lansing right now. They're even happening in Detroit about like, well, where are you really coming from? So the Biden administration, the 46th administration, they began this process of allowing people to get more specific in their nationality in the regions of where they come from. So in 2030, for the census, they proposed having classifications for Middle East and North African, right? And then if you claim that you're a person of African descent, you can claim any of the nations in the continent and of the diaspora. And if you don't know where in the diaspora you come from, you could just say, I'm part of the diaspora. That's huge when we talk about reparations. But then when you got people in the White House who think like with this whole thing about birthright citizenship, they'll want to take that and reverse it against you and say, well, if you're from diaspora, this ain't your home.
I think that would have made it work 400 years ago. But like now that we didn't had X amount of years here, we here, baby.
You know, so you see the culture fight,
yeah,
right? And so like for most Black folks, we're like, well, what you mean? You see what I'm saying? But some of these people that's been running InfoWars for 20 some odd years, right? That's running these 4chan channels and stuff like that. This is where they coming from. So they dog whistle all day long. They bait you and red pill you all day long. You know what I'm saying? They trigger you all day long throughout the stuff. And we not focused on the main thing. Again, the state of Michigan is $1 billion company. Let's get away from governance, but think about like these states are $1 billion companies that do business, and they're taking those dollars and they're sending them. Even those dollars are not going overseas. So what we gonna have left?
You know, just talking about the birthright conversation, because one thing that kind of stands out to me when you say, I get it, 400 years, you're talking about in slavery, but like we are 5th, 6th generations of Black people being here in America. It's not like I'm first generation, don't
get
Middle
me
Eastern.
don't get me trying to explain white supremacist arguments. And this unfortunately I've been exposed to them too long.
I got you.
and I hear them unravel and I see the playbook now. Right. So like seeing like they've been fantasized and they've been like wet dreaming about this, y'all, honestly, for like 15 years. And so like now, like they really are there. When you look at did y'all see the National Prayer Service?
I did.
These folks claim like y'all remember like when you kind of really didn't want to go to church with your grandmama, so like you and your cousin, y'all be playing and all that other stuff. She help on you, all that stuff. Be quiet. They needed that at the prayer service. But these folks is almost 80 years old. Ain't no changing them attitudes. They done ran the biggest con to Black folks. I think majority of Black folks, regardless of being partisan. And that's the purpose of like the Michigan Democratic Black Caucus is like, look, yeah, Democrat because how we choose to govern ourselves is of the people, right? We of the people, from the people. This is a grassroots movement. It can't be top down the way the party has run for the last 10 years. It can't be run by agendas that's really run by a class of donors that are disconnected from what working families are talking about.
Big facts.
So, and it doesn't take billions to win campaigns. I say that because, like, when I talked about the emergency management, and then in 2018, when we changed voting rights in the state of Michigan to make sure everybody had access to the absentee ballot and everyone had access to the ballot from the age of 18 on, like, that's what counts, because white supremacy works in small chunks. They also tell you that, like, you having marginal gains is a great success, and it's not. We can't keep taking these small bites and thinking that we getting full. Sometimes we got to sit down and really eat. And so, like, that's where the caucus helps us to build that table as a community to figure out, all right, look, if we know that Black small business is going to be the key to help us buoy through these next 4 years, all right, bet, how can we intentionally make sure that we bring, like you said in the first, like 10 minutes ago, how we bring contracts to the community? Is it organized around them? Yeah, it kind of is, because, like, when you think about in the 60s, you were shut out. We ain't got no excuse now because we got so much information at our fingertips. So now it's the real challenge is, how do we work together and make money and not feel like we opposite of American values? You can share money with people and get money together, not scam. We can get money together, right? We can get money together and build skyscrapers, and not to be uber Pan-African. We can just be Black folks as being great in America. Again, what did I say?
It's tough because
it's tough. That's the tough part.
Because
but I think we can get
the younger folks right now are not attempting to get a trade. They're not attempting to get a skill. I don't want to be a skilled laborer. I do not want to be.
I don't want to work.
Go to work. I would rather flip my LLC, get on my YouTube. Like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, for an example, when they was building LCA, they had a certain amount of people that they had to hire in contract that was going to be Black. They couldn't fill the roles.
They couldn't fill the roles.
Right? So some of it is like, it's not that we're not going to offer you the positions, or we don't got to set up for you. Ain't enough people who want to do it.
You might have to hold that L.
Work ethic looks different.
Right, you got to hold that L. And so to me, like, that's, and I remember all them days, like, because even now, like, with the school caps, you're talking about $200 million that came from schools to go to build that. You dig what I'm saying? So it's almost like the vicious cycle regurgitating itself, because now, if you want the next generation to learn the skilled trade, where the money for it? You know what I'm saying? You traded that for a bunch of playgrounds. They ain't nobody using anyway because everybody inside. So, like, I hear you. It's tough with this new generation. I think we got some real challenges when it comes to technology. And, like, I'm a tech specialist. Like, I got all kinds of degrees in this stuff, and, you know, I get nerdy about it. I think we can learn.
You be welcome right here. You're welcome in this space. We got a technology snob amongst us.
Hey, this 458, 460. I come back 465. You know how you want to do it. But so, like, name it. The NCAA gave us something, especially with the O'Bannon lawsuits and all that. Name, image, and likeness is something that we need to protect. And we trick off a lot of it. We trick it off when we on Facebook. We trick it off on X. We trick it off on a lot of folks. These folks that become, they on a race to become trillionaires from what we give them for free. The state of Washington has a nice set of legislation and policies that don't allow data companies like X and Meta to openly trade, like, your personal data on the market. And I think more states need to pick up legislation like that, because that will
TikTok is definitely getting your data out of here, but nobody cares.
Everybody getting your stuff.
No one cares if the TikTok is getting your data out of there, by the way.
That's what I'm saying.
I watched all the congressional hearings and the Senate hearings a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they was up in audio tapes from meetings in ByteDance, and how X amount of people were from the communist, the China CPP on the actual board, and like, and all the intelligence agencies like, no, my nigga, they got our shit. And they know where your finger at on your screen. I got all your passwords, the whole 9 yards, because you hit accept.
And you know the funny thing about that, when you talk about them having all your information or even your digital footprint, your name,
That's right.
image, likeness, we update pictures to these filters, these apps. They know what you look like from
They
baby
done scanned it
pictures
so
all the
many
way to
different times
current
over.
day. Yeah.
And they trained the AI on your data, whether they telling you that or not. I have trained how to speak, how to talk with your data. Meta got these digital African American memes or AI assistants when talking about, yo, I'm queer black. Like, fam, why you gotta whatever? You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
look,
So it relates to you. You want to talk to somebody that speaks your language. You want to talk to somebody that gives you the feeling that they are who you are. And it's all fake.
it's
It's
all
all
fake.
fake. It's all a lie.
It's
It's all a
all
lie.
fake. That's the thing. It's all a lie. And it's just learned for real. And that's the thing, like, because I go across the country, especially like working with like groups like the NAACP about how they handle artificial intelligence, right? Because not only are you got to deal with like just the augmented reality, but now you got to deal with these deep fakes politically. You don't know what's what. We've given these AI systems enough to mimic this whole conversation, a whole other space just from all AI. All it takes is 5 seconds to start just catching our octaves. 5 seconds.
And
That's
I
it.
got over 10 years of audio and video
You see what I'm saying?
on the
Like
internet.
they could do
Like, I'm
anything.
trained. My damn iPhone can make a clone of your voice through your phone. You can make an
Through your
exact
phone.
clone of your voice or whatever. But like,
That's right.
it's a wrap on that. And it's
It's a
gonna
wrap
take your
on it.
jobs, by the way.
Yeah. So now we got to figure out like, so it's there, and at the same time, like when we was in high school and college, we was complaining about how policy couldn't keep up with technology. Well, technology didn't ran about 100 laps on policy now, and like we got all these old politicians. So this is what I'm fighting with right now within this state party, and this is how like when we wonder like, well, where folks is at. Like, where was they at when it came down to like letting me hear about whatever administration before 30 days before the election? Like, this is a $1 billion industry, and for our community to be last in certain places, especially in Detroit, where you're the blackest city in the country, statistically and culturally. I know that everybody talk about Georgia all day long. I love Georgia, great state, beautiful state. I know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, Detroit still black as fuck. And so when we think about politics requires money to move people. If you want to ask somebody to knock on someone's door in August, you got to pay them. They got to go do it out of their just own volition unless they're a neighbor. And in a nation when you got 200 million people who registered to vote, you got to ask for money to advertise at least something. So,
Well, I got a whole idea about that. Which I think
But my point being is that for 22 million people to stay home, and for folks in Detroit to be like, I'm good, for a majority of black folks in the state to be like, I'm good, for Michigan to go Republican, knowing that more often than not, just not even partisan wise, but I've polled this state so many times. The things that we say about policy, healthcare, seniors, quality of life, they don't match with what them other folks is doing right now in the White House or even in Congress. They don't match. And so to see those things flip, it means that when we had that feeling that like the Democratic Party ain't heard you, yep, because they're not invested in you. And so
Yeah.
I mean,
this state is one.
why would I have to hear you or listen to you or invest in you? Because I know you black and you're gonna vote Democrat. I don't gotta do nothing for you.
This is one of the few states that actually has a Black Caucus, right? That's not tied to folks who are already elected.
Can you explain what the Black Caucus is and its function?
Yeah. So the caucus is basically where it's a space for Black people to convene within the party on their own issues. Period. It's not to hear what the party's saying, it's to tell the party this is where it comes from, right? So when you center, and you can be centered in Blackness, period. So like if there's anything to talk back about, let's say Black men and reproductive rights, that's where it should start. It should start like from Gretchen Whitmer coming down to tell us what reproductive freedom looks like. But that happens when you have leadership that's either old or the gatekeepers to the establishment. And so right now what's happening within the movement as a response to like this dead air in space, it's like, man, we got to start shaking shit up. And so I'm running against a person that I respect, but honestly, like they are gatekeepers. And because of that, we're not getting the adequate resources that we need to be consistent with the community. And
Brandon,
from
I'll
what
be
I learned,
honest.
go ahead, bro.
I'm not as familiar with the Congressional Black Caucus. Who are you running against?
So you got the Democratic Party, the Michigan Democratic Party, right? And so you got the big party structure, you got the chair, and each one had their own caucuses. So the current caucus chair, the Black Caucus chair, his name is Keith Williams. And so you start hearing like a lot of names, just like political. They random as hell on a every day. But this is the current caucus chairperson, right? You ain't heard of them,
Okay.
probably, but they active in the community. But they approaching 70, and I love them dearly. The fact is that again, like times has changed, and I think it's our time to transition.
And I'm with you on that because I'm not trying to be ageist. I don't know if that's a word,
It
but
is.
okay, well, maybe I am trying to be that. It's time for new blood, new ideas. I know for me, one thing that was very difficult about getting engaged in this last election is because as, a man of a certain age, a father, a homeowner, a resident of the city, there were not a lot of people talking to me and the issues and the concerns that I had for me and my life moving forward. And I think a lot of people are disengaged and disenfranchised from the political process because that's what they feel too. There are things that they have concerns about in their community, their home, their environment, sit financially, that are not spoken to in these elections. And I just wonder, in your role, you said that should probably start with you all. So is how does a person like me, I'm just a regular everyday West Side gentleman. I go to work. I
Yeah.
take care of my kids. I pay my taxes. You know, uh, and I want my voice to be heard. I want the things that concern me to be heard. How
Mm.
do I get involved, or how do I, make sure that the things that are important to me are discussed?
Um. So two things. I think the caucus is a space to be heard, and that's something that I want to make sure is done like in a more like on the ground way. But let me give you some resources. Like right now, folks are doing the work on the ground. Right, it ain't gonna really cost you much. Black Men Build is a real dope space. They got chapters all across the state. My man Sloan is the state president, and they have monthly meetings. So like it's centered around Black men. It's just what we talking about. They got a whole legislative political space where where like state legislators come down, talk to the local groups and everything. And they got a good movement going. I think like the membership's like $30 a year or whatever. Right? Like whatever. I think like some spaces that if you want to be more active, like New Era Detroit and the People's Action is dope. They always dope. I think, and then like so you also have a whole C3 community, 501c3 community that I work with. So like groups like Michigan United that work on like immigration issues and things like that. They need more Black voices because people think that immigration is like colored towards a certain region in the world. And like, no, there's all aspects of colorism that need to be discussed. Like, why we've been treating Haiti the same way for the last 200 years, and if you really believe in Blackness and like all the spirit of liberation, we got to be lifting Haiti up because that's the first country to tell white imperialism to kiss my ass, and they still getting beat up for it.
Okay.
And so like you know what I'm saying. So it's like but those like 4 organizations. Like they need to hear our voices. So I'm not going to tell you to like go to a town hall and coffee meeting with your elected official. You should be calling them and emailing them right now and saying like, hey, when's your next virtual office hour? I just want to come see you. I want to see you. I want to feel your presence in my community. You shouldn't have to always go chase down your elected officials.
I feel like the only elected officials that, you feel them in the community are really people running for local office.
Yeah,
A
that's
few months ago, we had Boyd, who was running for Boyd White Jr., who was running for city council. No, he was running for school board. I'm sorry. We had the opportunity to sit down with him and talk. A few years ago, we had Anthony Adams, who was running
yeah.
for mayor. We had the
And
opportunity to
Sherry, who is currently on the board, we had
Sherry
her
Gay Donago
2 years ago before that.
Oh, that's what's
yeah,
up. Yeah.
to run with the school board. Oh, we get them elected. We get them elected. All right, we pushing the needle. But
I got a
I
good
would,
track record there.
yeah, I would, but those are the only people that I really see in the community. Now, I give it to people like, Governor Gretchen. She will be out and amongst the people. I always see Mary Sheffield out and amongst the people. But when I see them, and this is no knock to them, these are, typically political fundraisers or, you know, basically shaking hands and kissing babies. And I know that's part of the process, but
Hmm.
that's also not the place where I'm gonna be able to tell her, hey, this public school in my area, it's not good for the kids, or
So,
it's a dangerous space. Like that's what I'm more so looking for to sound off in terms of my concerns.
so here's the thing, though. Well, here's the double-edged sword: is the reason that you see them local people in your local area is because they local, and somebody who work for the state, the entire state needs my attention, right? Because the state of Michigan is a giant state, and like in this last presidential election, there were definitely topics and things that had to do with my actual real life that was on the ballot and they were talking about. But fortunately or unfortunately, it seemed like our people want people to talk to us a very certain way and not the way they talk to the rest of the world. I want you to talk to me like you talk to everybody. I don't want you to put your black voice on and start switching words for me and talk to me like, oh, let me put this into, and this is not what you're saying, but let me put this into drug terms so you can relate. No, talk to me like I'm intelligent. I know more than 4-letter words. Like I watch Senate hearings and
We say it all the time.
congressional hearings and stuff like that. But like for people who want to be active, we started off saying it's the information age. Everything is out there. I can email, call, text, watch, stream online. I think some people they like how it look when somebody in the community, they feel like, yeah, my person is there. You ain't did nothing, but go take a picture with that lady. You took a picture with that lady, and now you like, yeah, I know my mayor, I know my governor. Nigga, she put on some, shout out to her. Because you took a picture of her with Buffs on, what she did for you. Not saying that she hasn't. I'm just using this hypothetical. Like, we got to get over how things look and start talking about like how things actually are. Because the real work ain't gonna be done in the streets. You'll get the ideas from there, but that shit done in Lansing. You feel me? Like we writing up laws and we talking over dinners and stuff. I'm trying to coax somebody over. The real work is like it's done somewhere else, not necessarily on the not for the publicity portion, but it's all a part of it. You feel me?
And Jay, you make a good point, but we say it all the time here. Like, don't feed me no hip hop shit. I don't need you to do it over a beat. I don't need
rapping to me.
I need you to rap it to me. Like, talk to me, because
look at it like this, y'all. So like, both y'all right. Locally, it's easy to have scale because you ain't got as far to go. The governor's office has always been, it's not a place for the people. So like when you think about like Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, she's got a footprint where you feel her office. You know what I'm saying? So if you live in the 12th congressional district, you could find one of her offices. You could just walk up in there. You could talk about, your issue, and they gonna receive you. You go to the 13th, You may not find your congressperson, but they may not be that receptive. They may not even have a setup in the community for you to go see them.
Yeah.
So same thing with the governor. You know what I'm saying? So like you got a Southeast Michigan office, which is made to be administrative, but it's not made for community outreach. It's in the old Cadillac building, the old GM building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like that ain't for the community. So like there are conversations that need to be had. And one, remember, like our legislature had folks with AR-15s in April 2020. So like there's a security concern about the fact that we just released 1,500 insurrectionists, and they could be anywhere in the United States as well as the world. And there are great security concerns around the governor. So this has been documented. They tried to kidnap her, all that crazy stuff. So that changes like people's footprint and outreach. And so like I'm not saying we need to have a delicate balance. The governor's office outside of like Granholm really has never had real extensions down to the community. It's just haven't. And so your state legislatures, their budgets don't even allow that. They got to fundraise to have like offices open 5 days a week in your community. And so this is where I got big problems with the political process. And so when you get a person, so I organized all across the country, and I was working with the folks in Georgia when it came down and work with Senator Warnock. And so since he had a church relationship and he was from the church, he got offices and outreach in all the churches in his Senate district. He is a senator in Georgia. So now you see how you connect and you build it without trying to say, oh, I ain't got the money, so I can't do it. It's because he organized the community resources. And you're going to have pastors who ain't going to get down with him because they don't like his politics. That's on you, fam. I'm the senator. I'm trying to make sure you got access to my office. So if you cutting off contact to me because you feel that you ain't feeling me politically, you cutting off your parishioners. That's on you. You see what I'm saying? And so like, it's those type of relationships like, yep, if you got a Black Caucus talking to the governor and the governor a Democrat, that's what I need to be talking to her about. And so for all this time, we need to up our game. And it don't mean we got to do it in social media because it's too disconnected. It ain't helped us at all. It is like in some spaces, we got to do the things that got us to the civil rights movement. It's talking to people and using your resources as if you ain't got no other option. You know what I'm saying? Black Panthers couldn't just be putting their shit up in the LA Times. They have to go talk to their people. You have to take the message directly to the people who need to hear it. Because if you give it to the mainstream, it's going to diffuse out.
I truly believe that because, as a child, my grandfather was a pastor out in Wayne, Michigan. And I remember vividly, people running for different offices in that area, coming to the church, staying after service to talk to the little old ladies in the fellowship hall to hear out what they had to say, to really, listen, shake hands, get to know the community. And that's, I don't know the first thing about campaigning or trying to win a political seat or anything like that. But I feel like if you do not, it's almost equated to like rap. If you don't have the support of your city, if you don't have the support of your people or your community, the people to rally around you, like it's harder to get in the forefront just on your own too. You need to have some type of connection in order for people to want to support you and want to get behind you.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about this campaign when we talk about transition leadership, right? We got folks from all across the state like, it's time to switch it up. Like, it's like, first of all, folks think a young Democrat is like somebody 45 and under. Like, no, they ain't no young Democrat. Like, you grown as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's governors. The governor of Maryland is in his 40s. So, like, there's this whole conversation about leadership within our community that makes you think you got to go through 4, 5, 6 changes in life before you qualify to be in front of something. And no, that ain't it.
I'm at a I don't know how I feel, depending on the position, about age, right? Because I've seen a bunch of young mayors all go through the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because like,
it's too now
for sure, but like, there is something about life. So I'm 42 years old, and at 32, I thought I was grown. But at 42 years old, I look at my 32-year-old self like, nigga, you ain't know what the fuck you was doing. You had all the confidence in the world that you knew what you was doing. but you didn't actually have the life experience. But some people at 32 have gone through so much stuff, you know what I'm saying, that like, oh, they got it. So I don't know.
But the age part shouldn't negate it. You know, you
Right.
being
That's why
32 should negate that opportunity. But
Your
what I do have a
experiences is
problem,
really what drives the day.
it is. But what I do sometimes have a problem with, you know, when I see people that have been in these spaces, you know, 50, 60 years, and I cannot, in my 40 years of living, I'm 43. I cannot, in my 40, you know, I've been old enough to vote for damn near 20 years. And I have not seen any significant change
well,
with this name recognition that's in office.
Man, listen.
just doing the math.
Just doing the
43
math, like, look,
18 is
like
more than 20 years, by the way.
That's that. But I didn't register to vote straight up at 18.
yeah.
Like it took me a long, like for me, I didn't believe that my vote made that much of a change. I didn't start voting well into my mid 20s, you know, and deciding to become a part of the political
Yeah,
process.
the process, yeah,
Really,
and engage in it.
really,
Yeah.
when Kwame was starting to like bubble up, and I saw somebody that looked almost like me that I could relate to,
Yeah.
it got me more interested in wanting to vote. But like Jay said, we saw, you know, some of the. I don't think, you know, people. There are character flaws in people, regardless if they in their 20s and their 30s or well into their 60s. Like if you like to, you know, you like to dilly and dally outside of your wife, that's you know, no matter what age range it is, you know,
You gonna do it.
that's character, yeah, but that's character, not age, in
Yeah,
my
that's right.
opinion. That's a character flaw that has nothing to do with age. So
Well, see, like, and
we
so it's interesting now, though. Like, you got a 37 count felon in the White House. I mean, like, well, so, and that's like
absolutely
the stuff that he's been found guilty of are deep reflections of what people feel his character to be. So,
absolutely they are
so right,
reflections of his character.
you understand? So, like, so I'm in the construct of trying to understand, like the perfection that's required of blackness. And the exceptions that's given to whiteness, right? So like we talking about white exceptionalism. So just because Donald Trump done went bankrupt like 7 times or whatever how many times it is, he essentially has found a way to work the system. No, he's failed exceptionally. And so like, but in this space, as long as we in America, I guess, like we're gonna have to deal with those types of things. And so yes,
But
like the qualifications, to me, the qualifications of leadership for any office or whatever is really like, can you articulate a vision? Like, can I see where you're trying to go, and have you at least put the measures in place to get there? And so for me, when we talk about basic stuff with the caucus, about setting standard and having been able to set structure across the state, we got support from 13 communities across the state and in 14 counties, right? So like that's pretty darn good. Black folks make up 43 counties in the state of Michigan. There are only 15 like local caucuses, right? So within the Democratic Party. So we feel good going into the Democratic convention here in Detroit on the 22nd of February. And so like I'm not new to this, but the I'm going uphill. I gotta be honest with you, I'm going uphill. And so, you know, this is a game with the people, right? So like we got opportunities to volunteer and like do phone bank and stuff like that, but it's a Democrat to Democrat thing. So if you're not already a registered member of the Democratic Party, you can support, but you won't be able to vote at the convention because you gotta have your membership in 30 days before the convention.
I was gonna ask, how do you how do people vote and who can vote?
Yep. So members of the party. So membership is free within the Democratic Party. Don't get it fooled. Okay, it's free to join the party and say that the Democratic Party in the state of Michigan. In the Republican Party, you have to be elected before you can vote. So you have to be a precinct delegate before you can vote. But within the Democratic Party, as long as you're a member, you can vote. So it's an open caucus, right? So when we have the caucus conversation, it is literally like the people in the room are making those decisions. So normally the convention in the Black Caucus might have 300 people in it. You know what I'm saying? It jam. It jam, you know what I'm saying?
So to be a member of the Black Caucus,
you need to be a member of the Democratic Party.
So you don't have to be like an elected official of any sort. Interesting.
But you got to be a member of the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I didn't know that. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like how you choose the caucus is how you choose the caucus. So you'll see women in the women's caucus. So like you can't have the women in the Black Caucus at the same time because it's gonna be a conflict, right? So the women's caucus normally goes after the Black Caucus because then you can keep the communities together, right, and things like that. And then like so folks will be moving. Like you got the teachers caucus, you got labor caucuses, you got all kinds of caucuses.
So can you create a caucus?
Absolutely. I created an urban progressive caucus in 2013.
Really?
And we folded into so long story short, we folded into the Black Caucus that year because we aligned in values. It didn't make sense to have two caucuses that want to do the same type of work.
So if I wanted to do a black male caucus, black males in Michigan caucus,
the better, I think. So this is the structure I have for that. So within the National Democratic Party, we have councils. And so a council can feed into a caucus and inform the caucus. That's the point of it, right? So like, yes, I think a black male council within the Black Caucus is key. I think also like a small business council within the Black Caucus is key.
Specifically, this is specifically if I wanted a black male Second Amendment caucus for the state of Michigan to make sure that we keep all of our black men, well, all of us keep our Second Amendment right. Like, is that a caucus?
You could, but you might bifurcate yourself because then like you got three different communities. You got the Second Amendment community. We already have a gun owners community within the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Right. And they caucus as gun owners. So then like if you say black male and gun owners, so now you've like made a really small caucus and your impact within the party is gonna be diluted. Because now where do I affiliate? Right. So
you only can be in one.
Right. Well, no, it just makes sense for you to be able to say, like, okay, you can vote 3 times if you a member of the Black Caucus, you're a member
more
of the
narrow
caucus,
that you make
and you're a member of the gun owners caucus. You know what I'm saying?
Because there's a difference between like people who want to ensure their Second Amendment rights and somebody who's just a gun owner.
So right. So well, no. So this is the thing. So there's a theory within the party that's different from what the conservatives say about the Second Amendment. And so the Second Amendment means like, yeah, we can form a militia and organize ourselves if we see fit.
Mm-hmm.
Not just to be taking up arms, just to be toting. So if this government gets out of order for whatever reason, and we feel that we need to arm ourselves or organize ourselves against it, as if, let's say like Black Tulsa, for instance, that's the Second Amendment situation, or Dr. Ossian Sweet, right? Unfortunately, he was a militia of one. But he had to take up arms against an insurrection that was trying to take away his sovereignty. So like there's a broader conversation that I think like black gun owners. There's a book that's out there. It's called that nonviolent stuff that gets you killed.
Yeah, because I mean, to have a militia, the whole 9 yards is a part of it, but just the protecting the right for Americans to keep and bear arms is a part of it as well.
But this is why I say that. So going back to Black Tulsa, right? They went and literally disarmed all the black men that were in Tulsa who were World War I veterans who had organized themselves as a militia to protect themselves against a violent racist riot. The Attorney General called in the National Guard to literally disarm them, right? And so as if they had no right to organize themselves as a community.
Yeah, that's when you start shooting back.
Even though I had a right to bear arms, individually, I'm no good against the army.
Yeah, that's when you shoot back.
Right, that's when you shoot back. So
Jason, you are a militia of one.
And if they can dilute your Second Amendment right to making you a militia of one, then you can't take effect of the entire amendment. You understand what I'm saying? Like we got to be able. There's a conversation about sovereignty and autonomy and holding your space that we got to have. So if they can easily just take your community and just wipe it clean.
Well, they only can take it if you willingly give them up. So
that's what I'm saying. So like look at the Treaty of Black Tulsa. Look at what happened. Like so them KKK folks, they couldn't take the community. They had to call the governor. They had to use the arm of the military to go up against that militia. And they had organized themselves, and they were all veterans. So like the measures that they pulled, and they've pulled like 100 years ago in this country to disorganize Black men, or even better, the Philadelphia move bombing in 1983. They just leveled the whole city block, called it a day.
Just watched a documentary on that recently.
So you see what I'm saying? So like, and so they saw this militia, and they were just families, you know what I'm saying, in this space, because they had a 6-shooter in a corner apartment somewhere. They decided that the whole space was dangerous, but they were the Second Amendment right. I can bear arms. So like, so that's why I'm saying like that caucus, the gun owners caucus, has a grounding, and it needs to be further grounded in Blackness. Because like we got a different, right? We got a different experience with guns, and that's what I'm really trying to articulate. Not going against like what you're saying about being armed, because believe me, I'm not a pacifist. I think I made it kind of clear, but but you know what I'm saying? Like there's a level of militancy that we have to accept with the Second Amendment, and I think like people like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, they really accept the parts of the Second Amendment. They've organized themselves around it. And there have been more right extremist militias popping up in the last decade across this country than Black just gun owner groups. And shout out to the National Association of Gun Owners. That African American National Association of African American Gun Owners, I'm sorry, NAGA, NAAGA. And shout out to the Black Bottom Gun Club. Shout out, I'm a member over there too. I got my badge and everything. So I see y'all at the range one day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that being on like I got my Glock. No, that ain't that Dr. Harris conversation. This is like, no, like that nonviolent stuff will get you killed nowadays.
Brandon, are you a lifelong Detroiter?
No, I was born in Louisiana. I was raised in Detroit. Yeah.
Okay. You know, we like to get into a little bit, because you've talked a lot about, you know, the political landscape. Yeah, no, but it's needed conversation. You said New Orleans. How long have you been here in the city or in the state? Right?
Pretty much all my life, fam. Like I came up here, I was 6 months old. So like, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
you from here, man?
Yeah, you lifelong.
You don't have a memory from before 6 months, so anything that you ever remember,
you know what I'm saying?
Here.
You know what I'm saying? But it's always good to go home, and I'm on my aunts and all them down there, like my older generations down there, so it's always good to go home.
Okay. Where can people find out more about you, get behind you, support you, and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I got a really unique name, Brandon Jessup. So like when you look me up on Facebook, you will see the fan page. You'll see me looking a little bit more suave. You'll also see a picture of my son. He pouting. It's really funny. He was like 2.5 years old. So if you see my fan page, go there right now, follow, check it out. You can also go to upxmichigan.com. That's the name of my company. I am an entrepreneur. Got an organization called Michigan Forward. It's the state's first urban think tank. We focus on building progressive public policy, through data science, right? That's how we built the audiences to do these ballot initiative campaigns, and we won. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a blessing to be in that space, and yeah, I'm on Instagram, ITSB Jessup. You know, a lot of stuff is public. But since I am literally an organizer. So when you Google me, you won't find much, because I gotta make sure that people who don't like the work I do don't try to find me where I am. And so you really have to say, okay, Brandon Jessup, and you'll find me. It's me, and you'll find this UFC fighter. He white from North Carolina. So that ain't me. You
ran for something not too long ago, correct?
Yeah, I ran for state house in 2014, fam. Yeah. And, I was 10 years ago. When I was 30, thought I knew something.
Yeah, 10 years is crazy, right? You're like, I know everything right now.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting to come back. find a grounding, you know what I'm saying, have my kids, you know, they a little bit older now, so it's easier to move and groove. And they in these spaces with me. So like I'm not the guy that's like, oh, you can't come to this meeting. No, you come on and sit in this meeting and get this game. And so, you know, they looking at people 2 generations before us, you know, they get tutelage from them. That's a beautiful thing.
I
But
mean, we
yeah,
got to
like
expose the kids to the process too.
you got to.
You know, one thing they need to see it. You know, I remember, you know, my father worked for Wayne County Community College his entire
Mm,
career. And I remember being out there with him where we were campaigning for different millages and, you know, learning things of that nature. Shit, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old out there with him because that millage money I understood that's what was funding the college, which was essentially funding his job
that's
and
right.
trickle down to our livelihood. So
That's right.
we needed people to vote on things like that.
And you know, like it's that those are the small and interaction specific engagement. You know, okay, I get how democracy works, and like so that we call it direct democracy. When I'm putting something on the ballot to ask you to take a decision, right, on an issue or whatever, it's direct democracy. And so one of the final things, and I close here, is I'll share some links with y'all when we get off. But like so in the caucus, we can move policy, right? So I
Hmm.
believe that we had a capacity to ban the box in the state of Michigan, right? So I don't want us to just be a political boss. I'm just sitting here, you know, just getting fat. Like I done made movements. So like we can ban the box in Michigan. We can have a real conversation about reparations in Michigan. We can have a real conversation about, I mean, not just conversations, passing policy in absence of the legislature. That's what direct democracy does. It passes policy in absence of the legislature. So we got 3 options. We can pull it up for constitutional review, right? We can introduce things to the Constitution. We can get things for the legislature to decide on, right? Or we can introduce new laws. I want to do 2 of those things. Introduce new laws for the state of Michigan to pass. And the other thing is I want to introduce new legislation to the legislature, right? So whatever you introduce to them, if you pass it in a special election, like at whatever time this year, they will have 90 days to adopt it. So we're like, yep, let's go ahead and get rid of the box on all employment applications. Just ban it in Michigan, right? Let's have a real conversation about utilities in the state. We
Please,
all, you know, so we
please.
all getting beat up. We all getting beat up.
DT got to be broken up into multiple companies because this monopoly that they got, I have no other option. What you
And it's
gonna
gonna
do?
be the
Not pay
same
your
thing with the
DTE bill?
internet.
Like what you gonna do? Not pay your DTE bill? Like they gonna go up on the price. What you gonna do? You have no
What
option.
you gonna do? What you gonna do? There's no competition. There's no competition, and
And
there's
this
no
whole
competition
idea
for
that
the
like
internet.
where DT is, consumers not, if it's for light or gas, like they just play this thing back and forth. You're gonna be available in this area. I'm gonna be available in this area. So we gonna have a monopoly in both of these. I don't like it. There's nothing you can do. It might as well be the protection racket coming to I'll keep you safe.
Listen, the water should again be back to being public owned. Now it's gonna be a fight to do that. It's gonna be a fight. But when we talk about resources, climate change, and things like that, we got to get back to owning our resources again. Everything's privatized. The Great Lakes Water Authority is privatized, right? And so like that came from emergency management, spinning off things because people think that government got too big. No, those are assets. If the city of Detroit has an asset like that's worth $10 billion, leverage it on the market. Don't sell it to a private capitalist like Nestle so they can bottle it up and then charge you to drink it. How much sense does it make? And so like we've been making so many decisions that are just counter to common sense. And that's what I want to do and share. Like I ain't saying that I'm gonna change the world. But this to be a medium where we can have a conversation, push towards to try to get some policy change. And like hopefully this attitude will effectuate the party. Or at least if it don't effectuate the party, you got a home of black folks that's talking about getting work done. And if them values as a party don't fit, we move and go somewhere else. But the point is that you got a caucus and a collective at this point.
Brandon, let me ask the person that you're running against. How long have they been in this position?
I believe they served at least 2 terms, so terms of 2 years, so the last 4 years.
Okay. And is there, besides yourself, is there anyone else running? Is it like a bunch of people?
I ain't heard nobody. Shit, I only hear my name when I walk in the room.
Okay.
So.
That's what's up. And the vote is on February 22nd.
Yeah, February 22nd. The convention is free. So caucuses start at 9:00. We'll have more information about like seating and stuff later. I'll send y'all the link on where you can sign up because for security reasons, you really don't want to have this information really, really, really public. So we try to make sure that like the people who are coming are folks who are like really in the party. They're trying to roll with us. It ain't people trying to do bad stuff.
For sure.
I
definitely want to. I want to be media there, but I'm a photographer as well, so I want to come. I want to take some pictures of the event, the whole 9 yards. But like, where physically located is this going to be?
It's at the Detroit Marriott. I'm sorry.
Detroit Marriott.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are a registered Democrat, if you are a registered Democrat on February 22nd, you can go down to if you sign up, go down to the Detroit Marriott and cast a vote.
Yeah, cast a vote in caucus, right? In caucus. So you got to be in the room. You can't be remote. You got to be in the room and be counted. So, and it's going to be some things that they're going to check your membership too when you get there. So you got to check in when you get there so they'll see you on the membership list. Okay. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's a simple process. It's free. So as long as you're a member of the Democratic Party, right? And in Michigan, we don't ask you to declare your party on your voter registration. So it's not going to be on your registration. It's not party affiliation is not tied to your voter registration in Michigan at all. They don't look at it. They don't ask you. So party membership is at michigandems.com. You go to membership, scroll down to the bottom, get the basic free, right? And sign up.
Okay. That sounds simple enough.
I always heard people say I'm a card-carrying member of the Republican Party, and I've never heard somebody say that of the Democratic Party. But it is it's the thing. I be hearing people say I'm a registered Democrat, I'm a registered Republican, and I never really thought about it or try to look into it, but like, interesting.
It's when people say that, they are actually precinct delegates. Like they literally are on like a public file that says I'm a Democrat, right? And then the people who go to the conventions and stuff like that, like they in the pond. They ain't a big fish, but they're definitely in the pond. That's
what's up. Man, we appreciate you kicking with us, man, giving us some information. Definitely welcome. Once you come on the pod, you're a friend of the show. You know what I'm saying?
Good, man.
You can come in anytime, kick it about some tech shit, or whatever kind of initiatives you got going on. We're open resource for you.
Man, you know what? I think we can have a good conversation about movement on technology. It's some stuff that we've been doing, like Black-led people, folks centered in Blackness, man, talk about like how we really reach out to folks on the citizen engagement space. So like, I can tell y'all some dope shit we doing, and also too, like the impact of venture capitalism, like on like politics, like, man, there's some stuff that we dealing with within the community that really does challenge like how, like, you think Elon Musk is doing that stuff on that side, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Oligarchies are dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, well, that's another conversation we gotta have soon then.
Yeah, man, whenever y'all ready. But sooner or later, the real question is, who y'all got for the Super Bowl? Y'all got the Commanders, the Eagles. Who you got from the NFC?
I'm going with Philly coming out the NFC, and I'm thinking, I believe in Buffalo. They're going to beat Kansas City and come out the AFC. Kansas City is not going to three-peat. It's not going to happen. Not this year.
I can see him not three-peating.
I would like to see a three-peat.
You said they're going to three-peat it?
I would like to see a three-peat. I like dynasties. I like excellence. I think culturally we've been bred to be losers. So we always root for the underdog because we all see ourselves as losers in the underdog. And it takes so much to be great. Like when you at the pinnacle, it's so much pressure, so much that goes into being great for over a long period of time. And the guy at the bottom, they got no pressure. They got no expectations, but we always root against the dynasty because we always see of ourselves as not great. We recognize, we see ourselves. I'm just a little guy. I like greatness. So if it's an opportunity to have a NFL champ 3 times back to back to back, running, and he a black man too, with a real black father, smoking cigs and shit, man, run that shit, dog.
Getting arrested for getting arrested.
Like, run that shit. I want to see some excellence. I don't want to. Oh yeah, this was the lowly team. He just came out. That don't take. It's hard work, but it's really really hard work because when you're the champ, everybody got their best night against you because you're going against the champ.
I can't run with Buffalo because of how they did Marshawn Lynch a long time ago. So that's how I can't run with Buffalo because of that. And they've been dogging backs since Thurman Thomas. So I never really been a big Buffalo fan. So
Thurman Thomas on Tecmo Bowl was amazing.
he was mean with it, right? So, but I'm with you on the Eagles though. I'm with you on the Eagles. The team from Washington, they need to. I ain't gonna get into how they changed their name, all that. I don't like the name, period. And because of the 91 NFC Championship game, I'm not a Washington fan, period. I'm not running with Washington for nothing. So I got
They
Philly.
beat my Lions. I want to see Philly beat
twice, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, let's get to Philly, man. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I want to see Philly beat their ass. So that's my pick. That's my pick. I don't know Jay and that winner shit. Look, I think Buffalo.
a loser.
I think Buffalo just a better team. Buffalo just a better team.
I identify with winners. I'm sorry.
Buffalo hot right now, but I don't think they're a better team than the KC, bro.
He can't beat that man in the playoffs. Regular season, he up. In the playoffs, 0 for 3.
We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, so
Jay,
look,
you got
we shoot you a line on the text Sunday. We laugh about it over the weekend.
For sure.
Absolutely. Jay, you got a whose man's is this week?
Whose man's is this? Yeah, I got a whose man's is this. It is very funny. So this person says, I've been dating my boyfriend for 9 months. We plan on moving in together, and I've had a random urge to just ask him if he has intentions on marrying me. This man said, I plan on getting married, but I don't know the who yet.
I think he gave you a perfect answer. After 9 months, first of all, why am I moving in with you after 9 months?
Now, cards on the table. I 100%. I did move in with a woman after 9 months before. I think it was like 8 months. We stayed together for almost 3 years. So I can't knock him on that one. But the whose man's is this is whose man? That's wild. That's a wild answer to give to the girl.
That's a strong answer. That's a very genuine
wild answer. Like, yo, whose man? This is your man, Dame. It got to be one of your people. Shit.
That's example when you chose somebody, chose wrong, chose too early.
This is something that I would probably say verbatim. I've been with women for years and never gave them a key. Like, I'll move fast. And that's probably why I'm single right now, because I probably let a good woman walk out of my life by moving too slow.
Man, you moving at the pace of semen, man.
But so I don't know. But after 9 months, you can't even talk to me about living with me in 9 months. I don't even know you.
Look, some cats be love bombing, man. They might 9 months. They might be every day on it, every day.
I mean, when you with somebody every single day for 9 months, first and foremost, it don't take that long.
Yeah. And man, it take me at least 10 years to figure out if I want to get married. I did it once and I fucked it up, so I'm not rushing. I'm only 43. We can get married when I'm 60, baby. You ain't got. Let's take our time. I done gave up getting married this year. Let's just take our time.
On that note, fellas, make y'all crazy time. But no, that's a good pace. I mean, you need to pace yourself in lifelong decisions like that.
Dan, you got a music pick this week?
Yeah, ma'am. I'm going with my homie Mac Nichols. Wins versus losses is my music pick. Hey, yo, Mac got a show coming up. I believe it's in March. He's gonna be performing with a live band down at L Club. I project to be in attendance because Mac don't do a lot of shows. I love to see him with a live band.
All B-sides.
Yeah, I gotta get in touch with Woo because I'd love to have a conversation with Mac sometime in the near future. Just a underground legend in Detroit, very elusive. Man, I saw Mac one time on 6 Mile on a just coming out of random house on 6 Mile. As soon as I circled the block, because I was like, this is my chance to like talk to him and like convince him to come on the show. Literally, by the time I made it back around the block again, he was gone.
I got his
He was
number.
gone. Yeah, because you've been in the studio with him. So like get him
Yeah,
on. Let's talk to him.
yeah, for sure.
So
All right, man. It's time for the Benny, man.
so Brandon, at the end of the episode, we always give our guests the opportunity to give their socials. Please just give us your socials, your website one more time where people can find you.
Yeah. Instagram, Threads, a lot of my stuff. He's the same handle, ITSB Jessup, ITSBJESSUP. Facebook, Brandon Jessup. And like, hey, look, if you need some of the baddest black data scientists in the state, UPXMichigan.com. That's UPXMichigan.com.
That's what's up. It's your man Dame going wild on everything. Instagram, TikTok while it's still here, X. Look, man, when you at me, talk to me because I'm talking back. Shop Talk Podcast, the brand is strong. We're not going nowhere. Another 458 episodes.
It was Jay Johnson 313 on everything that matters. Appreciate Brandon for stopping in. I want everybody if you are a card carrying member of the Democratic Party on February the 22nd, go down to the Detroit Marriott in caucus in person and place your vote for Brandon Jessup. I'm not saying we're the Rockefeller podcast, but we are Jay and Dame.
Hell yeah.
Peace.